Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're heading out on a bit of an adventure. We're going to learn how to read the world around us by mastering one of the coolest tools ever invented, the map. And trust me, this isn't just about lines on a page. It's about turning you into a real-deal explorer.
So think about this for a second. Every single map out there is basically a giant puzzle, just packed with secrets and stories waiting to be found. The real question is, do you have the skills to solve it? Well, by the end of our time here, the answer is going to be a big, fat yes.
So, why even bother mastering maps? I mean, what's the big deal? It's actually pretty simple. It's all about unlocking the world around you.
Right, so the core mission, and this is straight out of your geography curriculum, is to use maps for 4 key things. First, finding a location. Second, understanding height and the shape of the land. Third, figuring out land use, what's actually happening in a place. And finally, comparing data between different spots. These are basically the superpowers of any geographer.
Okay, let's kick things off with the most fundamental skill of all, finding your way. And to do that, we absolutely have to get our heads around the power of grid references. So, what on earth is a grid reference? Well, put simply, it's just a set of coordinates that helps you find a specific spot on a map. You can think of it like a totally unique address for any point using those numbered grid lines you see crisscrossing the whole page. We're going to start with the basics, get the foundations right. So first up, let's get some practice with 4-figure grid references. This is your first big step to pinpointing places like a pro. Now, to get this right every single time, there is a golden rule you need to burn into your brain forever. Go along the corridor, then up the stairs. It just means you always read the eastings number first, that's the one at the bottom, before you read the northings number up the side. Along, then up. That's it. All right, so you've got the basics down. Feeling good? Ready for a bit more precision? Because it's time to level up our skills and tackle 6-figure grid references. This is where we go from finding a general area to finding a very specific feature. So what's even the difference? Well, think of it like this. A 4-figure reference gets you into the right neighborhood, right? A general spot, like a park or a village. But a 6-figure reference? Oh, that takes you to the exact house on the street. It pinpoints a specific building, a certain bridge, maybe even a single important tree. So how do we actually do it? It's really just a 4-step process. First, find your 4-figure square, just like we did before. Easy. Second, you gotta imagine that square is divided up into a tiny 10 by 10 grid. Third, you just estimate how many of those tenths you are across and add that number to your easting. And fourth, you do the exact same thing for your northing. Estimate how many tenths you are up. And bam, that gives you your super precise 6-figure reference. Okay, so we can now find where things are. That's huge. But what are they? To answer that, we've got to learn how to decode the map's symbols. We need to learn how to speak the language of the land.
So your next big task, and this one's a big deal, is to learn the meanings of map symbols on an Ordnance Survey map. You just can't be an explorer without this bit. Here's how I want you to think about it. Map symbols are like the map's own secret language. Yeah, at first it just looks like a bunch of weird little drawings, but once you learn what they mean, the map just opens up and starts telling you its stories. Stories about towns and forests and rivers and mountains. And to make it a little easier, these symbols are all organized into categories. So you've got your man-made stuff like roads and buildings. Then there are natural features like forests and rivers. You've also got tourist info. That little tent symbol for a campsite, and of course, all the different kinds of paths and boundaries. Just take a look at this coastline. Right now, it's just a simple drawing, right? But on a real Ordnance Survey map, this whole landscape would be covered in symbols and wiggly contour lines, telling you the full story of how this powerful coastline was formed. It would show you the cliffs, the beaches, the type of rock, even the little paths you could walk along. It's all there. Okay, deep breath. We've covered location and how to decode symbols. Now it's time for the really cool part, bringing it all together. This is where we go from just having skills to having real insights. So, here's the crucial point. How do these individual skills actually help you think like a geographer? I mean, why did we learn all this stuff? What's the payoff? Well, this table kind of shows how it all connects. We learned that grid references unlock our ability to find a precise location. We saw that map symbols help us understand land use.
Now, the next step in your journey would be learning contour lines, and that's how you interpret height. But once you can combine all those skills, you unlock the ultimate superpower, comparing data, which lets you see why a town grew where it did, or why a forest is here and not over there.
So let's just step back and see what you've done. You've learned how to locate things with grid references, how to pinpoint them with precision, and how to decode what they are using symbols. You're not just looking at a map anymore. You are actively reading its story. So, I'll just leave you with this one thought. You now have the fundamental tools of both an explorer and a geographer. The real question is, what are you going to discover?